story begins with Koshi, a lonely loser whose house had burned down, leaving him homeless and starving. Suddenly, a girl with truly gigantic milkers appeared, asking what he wanted to eat. Koshi, being a total freak, immediately asked for her panties. The girl instead took Koshi home, fed him, and told him to bathe, but the girl couldn't control her inner perv as she licked food off Koshi's cheek, looking at him with the most pervy expression. Koshi ran, bursting into the bathroom only to find heaven, 3 girls with massive milkers bathing. He lost control of his little elephant, and in his embarrassment, he ran out, only to collide with another girl, sending them both tumbling. The girls were shocked by his speed, and the pink-haired girl instantly fainted. The girls explained this was a Goddess Dormitory, and the girl who helped him was Mineru. Koshi confessed he was homeless and broke, making the girls realize he was a total loser who would never get laid. Mineru, feeling pity, offered him the job of dorm mother, which comes with free food and lodging. Koshi was ecstatic, but there was a problem. Atina refused to accept a man as dorm mother and decided to leave immediately. Mineru explained that Atina came from a matriarchal family and had once accidentally seen the girls getting freaky with their boyfriends, causing a severe nosebleed and a fainting spell. Hearing this, Koshi felt guilty and ran after her, but every time Atina heard his voice, she ran away as fast as she could. He finally caught up and delivered the ultimate simp move. He told her he rejected the job so she could feel safe, even though he had no home. He wanted her to be okay. Atina realized her selfishness. We see Koshi freezing in a park, happy his sacrifice meant Atina wouldn't suffer. He fainted from the cold. Suddenly, Atina showed up, having realized her mistake, and gently carried the unconscious loser back. As Koshi was being carried, he slowly woke up, feeling warm and smelling something delicious. Still dreaming pervy things, he accidentally grabbed Atina's huge melons, causing her to get a massive nosebleed. Because of this, Koshi ended up having to carry the incapacitated Atina back to the dormitory instead. Everyone was overjoyed to see Koshi had returned. The next morning, Koshi officially started his job, finding the dormitory a disaster zone. He started with Mineru's room, but the cleaning was interrupted. Mineru stepped out in nothing but an oversized shirt, casually showing off her very big milkers and curvy body. Koshi froze as he began gooning in his mind. Mineru calmly explained she was doing an experiment and dressing like that was more convenient. Koshi instantly backed out. Suddenly, Frey grabbed Koshi and yanked him into a room. She wanted him to try on wild cosplay outfits, claiming it was totally part of the dorm mother's job. Frey then asked him to measure her melons, waist, and hips, again claiming it was part of his work. While measuring, Koshi tripped, causing Frey to fall right on top of him, suffocating him with her huge melons. Just as she was about to teach Koshi a naughty lesson, Mineru burst through the door, yelling at them to run because her experiment had failed, releasing toxic fumes. Koshi immediately scolded both of them for their antics. Mineru and Frey apologized like 2 kids caught red-handed. Feeling guilty for being too strict, Koshi ran off, completely forgetting he was still wearing a wild cosplay outfit. As he walked down the hall, every single resident stared at him in embarrassment. Mineru and Frey caught a cold. Luckily, Koshi returned with a warm blanket. His time on the streets had made him surprisingly reliable. This touched both girls deeply. They hugged him tightly, calling him a reliable man. And right at that moment, Atina returned, only to walk in on Mineru and Frey getting freaky and hugging the new dorm mother in the open. Her past trauma resurfaced instantly, causing a massive nosebleed as she instantly faints. Koshi was sleeping peacefully when suddenly a noise erupted from the ceiling above. The floor literally burst open, and Kiria was left dangling through the hole. Kiria asked for help, but she fell directly onto Koshi's face, giving him an unexpected pleasure. Koshi asked what happened, seeing Kiria embarrassed and trying to hide a manga. Kiria explained that her family owned a dojo, but ever since she got her first shoujo manga, she couldn't believe such a beautiful world existed. She started imagining pervy things with Koshi and then punched the wall in her excitement. Koshi instantly realized the truth. Whenever she felt freaky while reading shoujo manga, she got physically destructive. She then immediately asked Koshi if she could sleep with him for the night. Koshi felt embarrassed and asked if she wasn't worried about sleeping with a boy. Kiria, completely unfazed, told him she was used to sleeping with many boys. Kiria couldn't sleep and wanted to talk with Koshi, who reminded her of her brother. But then, she suddenly grappled Koshi, getting instantly freaky. Koshi, being a virgin, couldn't handle the rough contact. Kiria realized she'd been too rough and quickly apologized. Koshi assured her it was okay, but being surrounded by beautiful waifus in this dormitory, he couldn't stop thinking of clapping her in all of them. Embarrassed, he ran off to Kiria's room. Kiria still couldn't sleep because this was the first time someone had called her beautiful and wanted to clap her. She couldn't believe something from a shoujo manga was happening to her, and in her flustered state, she scratched the floor like a wild cat. The same night, Serene entered the room searching for Kiria but was surprised to see Koshi sleeping. Serene noticed the hole in the floor and instantly figured out Kiria was the culprit. Suddenly, Serene made an outlandish proposal. She asked Koshi to become her freaky partner and, in return, she would help him fix the floor using moon technology. Koshi, thoroughly confused, still agreed. Serene moved closer, sealing the deal by kissing him. Koshi opened his eyes, seeing his new waifu looking like a complete goddess. Koshi woke up the next morning to see the floor repaired like brand new, which made a delighted Kiria start stroking him. Koshi realized it was Serene's doing, but it felt like a dream. Koshi started cooking breakfast, and everyone was shocked that a loser like him could cook. Serene loved what Koshi made. Everyone enjoyed his breakfast and wanted to reward him. But Athena felt suspicious, convinced that a loser couldn't tame everyone in one day and must have used some goon magic. Everyone suggested Koshi should keep making food and let him use their funds, which were in a very sus money holder. Athena, still suspicious, decided to go shopping with him for dinner ingredients. Mineru interrupted, saying what about her condition, and pushed Koshi, who was saved from falling by Athena's huge airbags. Athena tried not to faint while having a nosebleed, but as soon as they went out, Athena came into contact with other men, causing another nosebleed. After buying the ingredients, Koshi told Athena how strong she was for facing her fears and how her carrying him from the park made him happy. Athena felt that he was the one who helped her open up. She immediately realized how he had rizzed up everyone with his smooth talk and ran away. She quickly bumped into two men, and Koshi, worried she would get a nosebleed, rushed towards her, grabbed her, and ran off. We next see Athena taking Koshi to a net cafe she often visited. Koshi immediately apologized for grabbing her, but she wasn't mad. Instead, she told him to call her Big Sis, which completely caught Koshi off guard. As he did, Koshi called her Big Sis, and every time he would call her that, she would feel something new. She thanked him for protecting her and vowed to protect him. She tried to convince Koshi to keep calling her Big Sis, but accidentally stepped on her skirt, exposing her panties to Koshi. Both panicked but lost her balance and fell straight on top of Koshi's face, causing another nosebleed. Koshi apologized for causing so much trouble and thanked her for coming with him. Athena soon realized how Koshi had won everyone's heart and trust. Koshi made dinner, and everyone was happy and wanted to feed him. Frey and Mineru tried to feed Koshi with their big milkers, which annoyed Athena. She pulled Koshi away and announced that as his big sis now, she would look after him. This made everyone jealous. They immediately surrounded him, demanding he call all of them Big Sis. The next morning, Mineru, showing off her power, gave Koshi her undergarments to wash, making him instantly flustered. Koshi couldn't stop imagining pervy things while hanging Mineru's underwear to dry. After gooning over the sight, Koshi remembered he wanted to return to school, a topic he hadn't yet dared to bring up with his new waifus. Koshi prepared breakfast and went upstairs to call everyone. He knocked and called Athena to wake up, but she insisted that Koshi should call her Big Sis, which made him immediately embarrassed. Athena was thrilled when he called her Big Sis and wanted to pet him, still trying to touch him while shoving her gigantic milkers near his face. Suddenly, Frey pulled him closer and, trying to seduce him, suggested he would prefer clothes like Athena's and proposed modeling a sheer negligee. Athena instantly stopped Frey, trying to protect Koshi's virginity for herself, or maybe wanting to claim it first. Mineru and Kiria immediately started arguing over who would be the best big sister to take away his innocence, escalating into a full-blown competition. Frey, acting like a total freak, cosplayed Koshi as a girl. He felt humiliated, but she insisted that a big sister should always make her little brother look cuter, claiming little brothers are just playthings for older sisters, immediately disqualifying her. Mineru said she would only experiment new things on him because little brothers are the best guinea pigs, disqualifying herself too. Suddenly, Serene showed up for the competition, but immediately fell asleep like a pet on Koshi's lap. Kiria wanted to spar with Koshi, but ended up in a very freaky position, causing him to pass out in seconds. Athena felt everyone was going completely overboard. As she tried to wake him up, everyone thought Athena looked more like a mother than a sister. As they started roasting her, asking if she was going to breastfeed him now, Athena's shirt accidentally slipped down, exposing her huge melons, which caused her to have a massive nosebleed right onto Koshi's face. Everyone was instantly worried about Koshi, rushing to take care of him, which made Koshi very happy to have so many big sisters and start gooning over their care. Mineru interrupted, saying this big sister had a surprise. She announced that she had already handled all the enrollment procedures and Koshi could go back to school. This made Koshi incredibly happy. He thanked them and promised to be a good dorm mother and a good student. Athena, feeling like she hadn't done enough as a big sister, vowed to try her best. The next morning, Koshi was thrilled to be back at school, but suddenly a girl Superman kicked him, sending him flying. It was Suteya, Koshi's best friend. Suteya furiously scolded him for not contacting her after his house burned down, telling him how worried she was, and then stormed away. Koshi tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. He realized Suteya was truly pissed, but he wasn't sure whether to tell her about the Goddess Dormitory. He started thinking about all the pervy things that had happened and decided to leave out any misunderstanding. At lunch, Koshi chased after her, but she was still angry and tried to walk away. Koshi held her hand and Suteya snapped at him not to touch her. Koshi instantly remembered her condition. She was extremely sensitive to heat and other people's body temperature. We see Suteya sitting on the rooftop, remembering childhood memories. Due to her condition, she couldn't play with friends. Young Koshi came over and invited her to play, but she refused, saying she hated touching people because it made her feel hot and dizzy. Koshi ran inside, used ice to cool his hands, and then placed them on Suteya's face. Surprised that she didn't feel uncomfortable, Koshi was completely rizzing her up without even knowing it. Suteya felt guilty toward Koshi because she would always say the opposite of what she was feeling and push him away. Despite this, he still stayed with her. As she was about to pass out from the heat, Koshi suddenly showed up and touched her face. She felt his hands were cold. He told her he always carried an ice patch with him to keep his lunchbox cool. In the next scene, Koshi told Suteya about the Goddess Dormitory, but she couldn't believe he was a dorm mother for a women's dorm and insisted he take her there immediately. Koshi tried to stop her but slipped and fell on top of Suteya. Embarrassed by the close contact, she instinctively kicked him again, doing the complete opposite of what she thought. Suteya followed Koshi on his way back to the dormitory. He told her it was just a dorm, but Suteya had her doubts that Koshi wasn't doing something freaky in a women's dorm. As he internally reasoned that he was just doing his job, his mind wandered to everyone's big mommy milkers. He told Suteya she shouldn't visit the dorm, but suddenly an explosion went off. Mineru's experiment had failed again, triggering an emergency exit. Athena returned from her classes and immediately went into shock seeing a new girl. Koshi, quick on his feet, introduced her as his childhood best friend, making everyone instantly curious. Frey couldn't stop herself and wanted to change Suteya's clothes. Koshi, the protective simp, jumped in, stopping Frey and saying Suteya disliked being touched due to a medical condition. Suteya, smothering under his overprotection, kicked him, confirming for everyone that she had feelings for Koshi. Mineru turned to Athena, declaring she had a tough rival and couldn't lose to the childhood friend. As everyone was arguing over who would win the harem king, Suteya snapped and told them she would inspect the dormitory first and would be the judge of whether Koshi could stay. Suteya started with Koshi's room, her caution level low, until Athena started praising Koshi for his cleanliness and amazing cooking. This praise skyrocketed Suteya's caution level, and she decided to check every room. The next room was Mineru's. Koshi wasn't confident, and as soon as they opened the door, toxic fumes filled the air. He quickly slammed it shut. This confirmed the rumor Suteya had heard of the toxic lady of Seekin Women's University, raising her caution meter even higher. Frey immediately took Suteya to her room, showing off her new cosplay costume, and instantly tried to get freaky while undressing Suteya. Athena quickly smacked Frey to stop. Koshi realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Athena grabbed Suteya and took her to her room. Suteya immediately roasted the room, saying it looked like someone who never gets laid. But Koshi jumped in, saying Athena's room was very relaxing and smelled like her, and he would love to goon there. This made Athena blush, but sent Suteya's caution meter to maximum rage. Next, they went to Kiria's room. She introduced Suteya to her shoujo manga and opened a book to suggest a read, but the page showed a very questionable, pervy scene, which made Suteya so flustered she punched the wall. Suteya's caution meter went up again, confirming the place was too dangerous. Suddenly, Serene force-fed Suteya an expired cookie, which skyrocketed Suteya's caution meter. She declared the place too dangerous and threatened to burn the dormitory down. It was already late, and Mineru, trying to redeem the squad, convinced Suteya to stay the night. Suteya was embarrassed but agreed. As they discussed whose room she'd sleep in, Suteya, still suspicious of Athena, decided to sleep with her. Athena tried to talk with Suteya about Koshi's childhood, but Suteya ignored her, demanding to know why he was dorm mother with a bunch of waifus and asking what Athena's relationship was with him. Suddenly, they heard Koshi screaming and rushed to the bathroom, only to see Koshi and Kiria in a very questionable, freaky position. Koshi explained he felt dizzy in the bath, and Kiria coincidentally walked in after her evening training, causing Koshi to fall right on top of her. Suteya was furious. She pointed at Kiria's blush and demanded to know what their relationship was to Koshi. Athena and Kiria looked at Koshi, blushing, unable to answer. Suteya snapped and ran away. A few days later, Koshi noticed Athena and Kiria acting very weird, having even forgotten their lunch. Worried they would starve, Koshi was urged by Frey to deliver the food, but it was an all-girls school. Frey, the costume queen, turned him into a cutie pie to help him sneak into the school. Koshi felt utterly embarrassed when a girl called him out, and he ran, only to collide with another girl. Panicked, Athena suddenly passed by, was in complete shock, and instantly recognized him. She grabbed and hugged him with her huge melons, declared he was her younger sister, and ran off. Thanks to Athena's milkers, he was able to escape. Koshi handed Athena her lunchbox. Athena was shocked he came all this way just to bring her food. Koshi insisted he was worried she would die of starvation. He noticed she wasn't getting a nosebleed. Athena then said something naughty, saying right now he was her younger sister, making little Koshi get a little excited. Athena took Koshi to look for Kiria, but bumped into her, getting them both wet. Kiria was surprised to see Koshi. Koshi tried to leave so they could undress, but he heard the girls searching for him. Athena immediately declared she would protect him, said he could stay since he was her younger sister today, but told him to turn the other way. As they undressed, Kiria and Athena started getting a little freaky with each other, and Koshi couldn't stop gooning at the sight. Since Athena didn't have extra clothes, she had to wear Kiria's, which looked like a total baddie, shocking both Kiria and Koshi. But Kiria's shirt was too small for Athena's big melons, causing a button to pop off and hit Koshi's head. When Athena came to check on him, her bare melons were exposed. She realized her button had popped off, causing a massive nosebleed, and she instantly fainted. Back at the dormitory, Athena suggested they all go on a summer vacation together, and surprisingly, she wanted to invite Suteya, which shocked everyone. Serene, one of the girls, was clearly not thrilled about the vacation and retreated to her room. Everyone just assumed she didn't like trips. Koshi, the dorm mother, went to convince her, but when he opened the door, he was assaulted by the sight of her room packed with trash bags. As he tried to step inside, a whole pile of trash cascaded onto him, and he opened his eyes to find Serene right on top of him. Koshi asked why the room was a biohazard, offering to help remove the trash, but Serene explained it wasn't trash but her equipment for moon technology. Koshi instantly remembered his earlier pervy dream where she kissed him and asked if she had come to his room that night. Serene didn't deny it, making him realize it wasn't a dream at all. Serene confessed that while she wanted to go on vacation, the dormitory and school grounds were filled with moon energy, and leaving would make her feel uneasy. Koshi was shocked to hear she had never gone outside the boundary. He understood the problem and immediately went to tell the others. They decided they needed to find something related to the moon to make Serene comfortable enough to join them. The next day, Koshi was racking his brain for moon-related ideas while walking to school. He saw Sucha walking like a zombie, looking incredibly aroused in the summer heat. Koshi quickly removed an ice pack from his bag and placed it on her face, shocking her back to her senses. Koshi explained that Athena had invited her on the trip. Suteya agreed to join just to supervise and ensure Koshi didn't end up doing something pervy again. Back at the dormitory, Frey had stitched a Sailor Moon cosplay for Serene, making Frey incredibly excited, but Serene rejected it completely, claiming cosplaying on the beach was against her Earth manual. As Frey sulked, Mineru tapped her and told her to leave it to her. Mineru created a powerful spell with just one whiff, claiming no woman could resist it, but Frey inhaled some herself, awakening the wild beast within her, and she immediately started getting freaky in the hallway, unable to control her sudden urges. Koshi came back home to find Kiria teaching a universal martial art to Serene, but Serene ended up falling asleep, claiming the universe's energy was overwhelming. Frey and Mineru stepped out, showing off their Sailor Moon cosplays, just as Athena returned and gave Serene an umbrella. Upon opening it, Serene saw a beautiful moon design inside. Serene instantly agreed to go on vacation, making everyone happy. After dinner, Koshi returned Serene's jacket. While doing the laundry, he had noticed some holes in it and took the time to patch them up. He mentioned she looked more at peace when wearing it. Serene told him the jacket was very important to her, and she was incredibly happy he patched the holes before walking away, looking like a moon princess. The next morning, the trip began. They arrived at their destination to find a very shady-looking hotel. Athena was deeply disappointed, realizing she had accidentally booked the wrong inn due to a similar name, ruining her vision of a luxurious stay. They started to explore. Although the place was nice and relaxing, Athena still couldn't believe her mistake. Koshi noticed a shrine covered in spooky dew and talismans, suggesting the place might be haunted. This scared Kiria, who instantly hugged Koshi. This made Suteya furious. She turned into Medusa and started using her ult, hitting them, putting an end to the pervy closeness. That evening, everyone went to take a hot bath. As Koshi was relaxing, Mineru and Frey climbed up and started peeking at him. Mineru stood up, making her towel slip, but Athena tried to stop it with her weapons. Frey, however, pulled Athena's towel down, showing off her own big milkers, causing Koshi to have a nosebleed first. Koshi couldn't stop gooning as everyone decided to sleep with him. Suddenly, Koshi saw Athena heading out alone late, which worried him. He came out to check, only for Mineru to jump out and scare him. Mineru was also worried and thought a ghost might have taken Athena, especially since the place was haunted. They both looked out and ended up walking down a very dark hallway. The darkness was too much for Koshi, so Mineru held his hand and walked. Koshi felt that Mineru was a dependable person and always there for him. Koshi, trying to be the hero, thought that maybe Mineru was scared too and said he'd protect her, completely rizzing her. Mineru pinned him to the wall and tried to get freaky, making Koshi instantly flustered, and he ran away. Suddenly he saw Atina and asked where she went. Atina told him she was looking for the bathroom. As they talked, they saw a white shadow coming towards them. Thinking it was a ghost, they made a run for it, hiding in a tight room. Atina told him she'd protect him and wanted to give him a special reward, trying to kiss him. Suddenly the lights turned on and Mineru saw Atina trying to get naughty. Embarrassed, Atina tried to explain but failed. Koshi then realized the person they saw holding an umbrella was none other than Serene. The next morning, everyone was getting ready to head back, but Frey wasn't fully satisfied with their vacation and decided to run off to the beach. At the beach, the scene was pure fan service. Everyone was showing off their curves, their generous milkers bouncing as they played volleyball. Suteya stood there with pure jealousy, convinced Koshi was only into girls with big melons, and went to swim alone. Koshi, meanwhile, was checking out Atina's stunning figure with his binoculars, thinking over some freaky things and realizing even this girl thought he was a perv. Suteya noticed that he wasn't paying any attention to her, only interested in the bigger assets. Suddenly, a few fishes surrounded her, making her uneasy. She tried to swim away, but one fish, clearly a massive down-bad creature, tried to enter Suteya's swimsuit, making her fall into the sea. Koshi noticed her trouble and immediately ran to save her, but luckily Kiria pulled her out just in time. Koshi was frantic, but Suteya snapped at him. Kiria told Suteya that Koshi was genuinely worried, asked her to save her, and was the first to jump into the sea. Suteya remembered that Koshi couldn't swim and felt a happy rush that he was watching her, too. Everyone knew Koshi couldn't swim and praised him for jumping into the sea to save Suteya. Atina specifically praised him for noticing her trouble and helping, but Koshi didn't feel happy and went to buy cold drinks. Suddenly, Kiria sneaked up and pressed an ice pack onto Suteya's face, telling her Koshi had prepared it before coming to the beach, knowing she couldn't handle the heat. This made Kiria a little jealous of Koshi's dedication. Frey asked Suteya if she ever got hot with all that long hair. Suteya ended up telling Kiria that Koshi's first crush was his kindergarten teacher and he was trying to copy her hairstyle. Frey came and hugged Suteya for being so cute. Suteya, unable to bear the heat, passed out, and Atina rushed off to get something cold. While Koshi was returning after buying drinks, he saw Atina being harassed by two ugly dudes forcing her to spend the night with them. Koshi, being a Chad, immediately intervened, stopping them. This made Atina remember he had saved her like this before. Koshi grabbed Atina's hand and walked away, apologizing for the grab. She responded, saying he was different, not like other ugly freaks, and that Koshi made her feel safe, like family. Koshi was instantly fam-zoned and friend-zoned, a total L. On the way back home, Suteya felt closer to everyone, but Koshi couldn't cope after getting ruthlessly friend-zoned by one of his main waifus. The next morning, Frey gave Koshi a hug. Koshi panicked as she pointed out an overflowing pot, but the pot wasn't the only thing overflowing at that moment. Koshi was completely zoned out when Kiria complimented his food, and while washing dishes, Atina offered to help, but Koshi, wounded, rejected her like she had rejected him. Frey and Mineru noticed he was acting very weird and had lost his usual dorm mother energy. Frey decided he needed to be taken to that place. Frey asked Koshi to come with her, and he agreed, making her happy. She took him to her favorite cosplay studio, telling the shopkeeper she brought a newbie. She then remembered he wasn't that new, showing the shopkeeper pictures and completely exposing him. They cosplayed characters from a famous game, Frey as the female commander and Koshi as the knight. Their characters were in-laws, with Koshi's knight character being in love with the commander's older sister, who only viewed their relationship as family, literally hitting all the arrows on Koshi's painful friendzone situation. Before their mock fight began, Frey told Koshi she would fire tons of questions, and he had to answer honestly. As the fight began, Frey asked what happened during the vacation. Koshi confessed that someone he had feelings for told him they feel safe around him and see him like family. He admitted he was confused, didn't want the others to hate him, and just didn't want to stay a virgin loser. Frey felt sad, hugged him, and apologized for the questions. She confessed that her straightforward personality had caused her many difficulties in the past, but she promised herself not to run away and would show everyone her true self, hoping to find a new love. After sharing their true feelings, they returned to the dormitory. The next day, Koshi and Suteya arrived at the university festival, and before they could even look around, Frey rushed over, her huge melons bouncing with excitement as she greeted them. She declared she was part of the festival executive and would be their guide. Their first stop was a very shady-looking stall, quite far away from the main action, which instantly made Koshi uneasy. It turned out the stall belonged to Mineru, who was selling her freaky potions to earn pocket money, though no one was sure if her concoctions were actually safe. Koshi couldn't help but wonder if selling such suspicious spells at a festival was even allowed. Suddenly, the school security team showed up. Mineru panicked, scooped up her bottles, and made a run for it, accidentally slipping one bottle into Koshi's bag. Then Frey took them to the science club where Serene was giving a presentation. To their surprise, the club's latest target of investigation was Serene, because they believed she was a creature from another planet. Just then, someone announced that the alleged alien, Serene, had been spotted at a drink stall, and the club members dashed off to capture her. Worried that Serene might end up being experimented on, Koshi hurried away to find her first. As he moved through the festival, Koshi noticed something bizarre. The girls around him were suddenly hugging and kissing each other, which instantly made him think something wasn't right. Then he noticed a bottle on the ground and realized it must have been one of Minoru's freaky potions. A girl was staring at him suspiciously and said he looked familiar. Frey reacted instantly, tossing a wig onto his head, completely exposing his secret. Apparently, Frey had accidentally inhaled some of Minoru's freaky potion as well, and couldn't fully control herself. Everyone discovered Koshi was actually a boy dressed as a girl and began gooning over him. Suteya snapped, but it completely backfired. Everyone started chasing her and stripping her. As Koshi was trying to help, a girl stopped him, telling him she wanted to explore a new world as she pulled down Koshi's pants. He couldn't escape the chaos. Koshi screamed for help, and like any main character, Serene appeared out of nowhere and unleashed her moon energy, cleansing the area and bringing everyone back to their senses. But Koshi saw that she had collapsed, she had overexerted herself, and was now completely drained of energy. Koshi took her to the infirmary and mentioned that Frey and Suteya were buying her food. Serene explained that food would only help temporarily. What she really needed to regain her strength was a kiss. This left Koshi flustered, and as she leaned in to kiss him, Frey and Suteya walked in, saving him from the awkward moment. They then made their way to the cafe where Athena worked. Koshi was shocked to learn she worked at a maid cafe, especially because she was incredibly clumsy and even tripped and fell onto him, giving him a special service. She apologized with a cute, "I'm sorry, master," looking like a true maid. Koshi, being a total simp, started apologizing back. Athena was trying to practice interacting with men, which worried Koshi, but Frey reassured him that Athena wanted to overcome her weaknesses by herself. One of Athena's friends noticed how much she cared about Koshi and suggested she spend more time with him. Athena was worried about leaving the cafe short-staffed, but Frey had already found a replacement. She dressed Suteya up as a maid, allowing Athena to take a break and go out with Koshi. Athena walked around still wearing her maid uniform. Koshi tried to riz her, seeing if he still had a chance to clap her. They eventually reached the school's cross-dressing competition. Both Koshi and Athena were stunned to learn that last year's champion was none other than Kiria. Athena and the others were completely mesmerized by Kiria's elegance. Feeling thirsty, Koshi grabbed a bottle, thinking it was green tea, only to realize afterward that it was Mineru's truth-revealing potion. Koshi was in complete shock. Kiria thanked them for coming and invited them to explore the maze with her. Koshi agreed almost instantly, so out of character that Athena and Kiria found it funny, and Koshi realized the potion had kicked in. At the entrance of the maze, the instructor told them they would be rewarded a medal if they were able to come out. This made Koshi very happy, and he was burning with excitement. Inside the maze, Kiria and Koshi were scared as hell, but Athena, now brave, asked if they were scared of the whimsical ghosts. Some ghost tried to scare them, but Koshi moved forward and beat all of them, declaring he would protect his waifus. Athena found his aggressive behavior strange, yet secretly wished he could stay this way. Kiria suggested that if they stayed close and held hands, they wouldn't be scared as they continued through the dark maze. At one point, they tripped, causing them to fall, and Koshi ended up grabbing Athena and Kiria's melons. Later that afternoon, Koshi asked Mineru about the potion he drank, only to discover it was nothing but plain water. He was stunned. He had been acting like an idiot the whole time. Meanwhile, Frey noticed that Suteya looked more natural as a gracious queen than the maid she was dressed as. At the same time, Serene was still running from people around the festival, so Mineru threw another potion bottle, plunging the entire area back into chaos. The next day, Kiria got a call from her father. Koshi quickly noticed something was wrong. Kiria explained that every year, her dojo threw a Christmas party for the children, complete with sweets and presents. But this year, her parents were out of town, and she had to handle everything alone. As soon as Koshi and Athena understood the situation, they immediately offered to help, making Kiria genuinely happy. The next morning, while Koshi was going to clean the bathroom, he accidentally walked in on a naked Athena. Startled and embarrassed, she bolted out, slipped, and fell right on top of him, causing an inevitable nosebleed. Due to the trauma, she couldn't go shopping with them. Koshi decided to take her place, and when Mineru saw them heading out, she teased that they looked just like a couple going on a date. Kiria instantly turned red, punched the main door in frustration, and ran away. At the mall, the two shopped for sweets, and Kiria couldn't shake the feeling that it really did look like a date. Standing together in front of a huge Christmas tree surrounded by other couples, she hesitantly moved closer to Koshi. To her, they looked like a couple, but to everyone else, they screamed brother and sister, the ultimate friend zone label. Kiria desperately wanted to know what Koshi truly thought of her. They later reached the Christmas clothing store area. Kiria explained her dad usually played Santa, but she would be doing it this year. Koshi joked about her wearing a fake beard until he remembered that Frey would make Kiria wear a cute Santa outfit. Koshi instantly started to imagine Kiria in a cute little Santa outfit, making himself embarrassed. Kiria said Atina would look cuter and felt she was only suited to boyish clothes. Koshi, remembering how cool she looked when she cross-dressed at the festival, told her honestly that she didn't need to dress like a boy. She looked adorable in feminine outfits too. This made Kiria intensely blush. They went to Frey for help, and Frey promised to create the cutest Santa outfit possible for Kiria. But first, she needed measurements. Koshi tried to escape, but Frey immediately tied him up to keep him there and started getting freaky while taking measurements of Kiria. Koshi couldn't handle the explicit scene and had to make a run for it. The next morning, Koshi again walked in on Atina, causing her to have yet another nosebleed, meaning she couldn't join them again. Thankfully, Serene appeared. Kiria instantly tried to recruit her, bribing her with a bag of sweets, which worked. The three headed back to Kiria's hometown. The moment the children saw Kiria, they rushed to her in excitement. They confused Koshi and Serene for new students and dragged them off to change into martial arts uniforms. Kiria then began her lessons. When it was Koshi's turn to train with her, she tossed him straight to the floor. She felt guilty for being too rough, but Koshi was already used to her brutal strength. When training ended, Koshi dressed up as a reindeer to help with decorations and even prepared little medals he made himself. The kids didn't like them, thinking his creations were a sign that he was a complete loser, leaving him disheartened. Koshi noticed a girl sitting alone and tried to talk to her. She told him she didn't deserve the medal because she was the weakest in the dojo. Koshi explained that the medals weren't about skill, they represented effort. Hearing that, the girl happily accepted her medal. Just then, Kiria and Serene appeared dressed as Santa Claus, and they looked unbelievably cute. Kiria's brother noticed that his sister was wearing a skirt and wasn't wearing any shorts under her outfit, so he instantly got whacked by Kiria. Together, they handed out gifts to all the children, who were thrilled. Afterward, the kids made Koshi act as a reindeer for Santa to ride. Kiria was too embarrassed to ride him, so Serene went first, but Koshi instantly realized she wasn't wearing any underwear, and she started rubbing herself against him. He panicked and ran straight outside. Kiria thanked Koshi for all the help, admitting she hadn't prepared a gift for him yet. Koshi reassured her it was fine and gave a medal for her, telling her she deserved it. Rizzing her up, she leaned in, about to kiss him, until Serene suddenly appeared behind them and interrupted the moment. And then it started snowing. As winter had already begun, Mineru and Frey surprised everyone with a kotatsu table, instantly delivering a massive W for comfort. Everyone gathered around the warmth, and Kiria, playing her hand, took a seat right beside Koshi. This instantly made Atina jealous, and she wanted his attention. Suddenly, Frey placed her cold feet on Atina's legs. Soon, everyone was playing footsie. Mineru and Frey also brushed against Koshi's legs, making him intensely flustered. Things got very heated under the table as they were all touching, almost making Frey quiver. But seeing everyone laughing made Koshi happy, reinforcing that this warmth felt like a new family forming around him, replacing the one he lost to the fire. Kiria mentioned her favorite memory was studying with her siblings around a heated table. Koshi realized he had never experienced that kind of warm group study session. Just as Atina was about to seize the moment and invite him to study with her, Koshi, thinking of everyone, suggested they include Suteya, crushing all of Atina's hopes. In the next scene, we see Koshi inviting Suteya, completely forgetting that she couldn't handle heat. Suteya snapped at him, but surprisingly, she still agreed, on the condition that Koshi had to keep ice cream on the kotatsu. When they returned, everyone else was gone, so it was just the two of them working on homework. Koshi started shivering. Suteya told him she would be fine and told him to turn on the heated table. When he went under, he saw Suteya's panties, which immediately turned something else on. Koshi started nodding off, and Suteya had already drifted to sleep. The heat from the table eventually made him drowsy, and he fell asleep. Eventually, Suteya felt very hot and woke up. She saw Koshi sleeping and quickly switched the heated table off. She noticed he hadn't finished a single page of math homework, so she quietly decided to do it for him. But Koshi, now cold in the room, accidentally slid his foot inside Suteya's skirt, making her instantly aroused. At that exact moment, Suteya noticed Atina returning, making her flush with so much embarrassment that she snapped and flipped the heated table over. The next day, Frey had a winter cosplay event and asked Koshi to help tidy her room. Even though she insisted it wasn't that messy, Koshi found himself in complete shock. Atina offered to help. Suddenly, they heard a loud crash. They noticed Serene's room looked ready to explode. Atina went out to find another way to enter, but found Serene hanging out the window. Her door was jammed, so she was climbing down. She slipped, and Koshi rushed to catch her, but ended up falling on his face. One of the best saves ever. They still couldn't figure out how to open her door, and some weird fluid was leaking from underneath it. Koshi felt that spring cleaning was turning into a nightmare. Suddenly, Suteya arrived for round 2 of the dormitory inspection. Suteya asked Koshi where everyone was. Koshi told her everyone was busy, and as for Serene, she had sealed off her room and sat there to guard it. Koshi, rizzing her up, said that without Suteya, they'd be totally helpless. which made Athena jealous because he wouldn't stop praising her. As they were cleaning Frey's room, Koshi found the old cosplay costumes. He suddenly picked up Frey's underwear and started to imagine her in it. Suteya noticed him and was about to snap, but cooled down as she started to imagine him cosplaying in those underwear. Eventually, they finished cleaning Frey's room. Next, they headed to Mineru's room, but she was nowhere to be found. Koshi suddenly discovered a hidden door. When they stepped inside, a shower of water sprayed them, and a breeze dried them off. Mineru appeared right after and showed them her new experiment lab. Koshi turned into a fangirl, but the lab was too clean and didn't need any cleaning. Disappointing Koshi, they returned to check on Serene's room, but she threatened them to stay away. Athena tempted her with a bag of sweets, and while Serene was distracted, they managed to pry the door open. Instead of trash, the room was filled wall to wall with New Year's decorations. Serene explained that these were memories from the past year. Since Koshi and Athena had moved in, she wasn't alone anymore. They cared about her. Athena insisted they still needed to clean the room properly. While Koshi and Suteya worked on cleaning Serene's room, Suteya told him they were out of ropes. Koshi went out to get them, only to see everyone had gotten drunk. Mineru pulled Koshi down and started cuddling. Serene joined them, making Athena fiercely jealous. Athena latched onto Koshi, demanding to know why he only cared about Suteya and wanted his attention too. She then suddenly rolled over and fell asleep mid-complaint. As Koshi was trying to figure out what this situation was called, Suteya snapped and actually put Koshi into a precarious situation. The following morning, Koshi asked everyone if they had any plans for New Year's. Mineru said she would be staying in the dorm for her research. Kiria also planned to remain there since she had already gone home for Christmas. Serene was still yapping about moon energy, so she clearly wasn't leaving either. Then Athena mentioned she would stay as well, which made Koshi genuinely happy. He would get to welcome the new year with all of them. Just a year ago, he had been a homeless kid, but now the Goddess Dormitory was his home, and he was surrounded with big milkers' waifus. It felt like a dream come true. Mineru decided they needed a big year-end celebration. She gave Koshi money from her extremely sus money holder and didn't want him to go alone. She asked Athena to go shopping with him, but Athena claimed she was busy. Kiria immediately stepped up to go with him. Athena, meanwhile, had actually been secretly preparing a New Year's gift for Koshi. At the supermarket, Koshi and Kiria began gathering ingredients. Kiria admired how naturally Koshi handled anything related to cooking. Just as she was about to ask him to teach her, Koshi suddenly collapsed. At that very moment, Athena finished putting the final touches on her gift. Kiria rushed to Athena's room to tell her that Koshi had fallen ill, and panic spread throughout the dorm. Mineru realized his fever was dangerously high. He had been pushing himself too hard, and they insisted he rest immediately. The girls gathered to discuss how they could help him recover quicker. Frey threw on a very naughty nurse outfit, taking her role as a nurse very seriously, while Kiria prepared fresh squeezed fruit juice with her own hands. Suteya rushed in, worried that Koshi might leave her again. Koshi reassured her it was just a small fever. Suteya, wanting to check his temperature, tried to touch his forehead with hers. She quickly realized how freaky that was, became embarrassed, and passed out. Athena and Mineru walked in, pulled Suteya away, and reminded Koshi to rest. When he went to sleep, he found Frey already lying beside him, examining him in her naughty nurse outfit. Athena returned just in time to stop anything pervy. Kiria tried to give him the very sus drink she made, but Athena shouted at her, causing the glass to slip. Athena rushed to save the glass from falling on Koshi's head, but ended up falling on him. In that moment, her top slipped, showing off her huge melons, and she ended up having a nosebleed and fainting. Everyone finally decided to leave the room so he could properly sleep. During his nap, Koshi had a nightmare about the fire that destroyed his home, waking him up terrified. He went out to get some water but bumped into Kiria doing laundry. She insisted on washing the clothes he wore. As she removed his clothes, she pulled his pants down and couldn't believe the little Koshi wasn't so little. Frey and Serene had prepared a special bath for Koshi. They carried him and started getting freaky. Koshi couldn't help but goon. Back at the laundry room, Kiria was trying to sniff Koshi's clothes. She caught herself and realized how incredibly inappropriate that was. Meanwhile, Athena and Mineru were preparing food for him in the kitchen, but Serene had eaten all the eggs because their shape reminded her of the moon. Mineru suggested using her special seasoning instead, which worried Athena, fearing it might interfere with Koshi's condition. Just then, Koshi entered and asked for something warm. They accidentally dropped the bottle, causing the whole kitchen to explode. The explosion exposed Mineru and Athena's curvy bodies, which instantly caused Koshi to faint. By evening, Koshi's fever was still high. They grew even more anxious since it was New Year's Eve and no doctors were available. They decided they would all take turns watching over him, but Athena insisted she would care for him alone, feeling she hadn't been giving him enough attention. She asked everyone else to leave it to her. Athena continued changing the cold towels on his forehead. Suteya was equally worried but had to leave and go home. Later, Kiria brought fresh clothes for Koshi. Athena was exhausted but refused to stop looking after him. Suddenly, Koshi started calling her name, and she gently held his hand, thinking back on their memories. She hugged him, wishing he would get well soon so they could spend more time together. The next morning, Koshi woke up and realized Athena had stayed by his side the entire entire night. She woke up shortly after and saw that his fever had finally gone down, filling her with relief. Koshi planned to head outside to clean up a bit so he wouldn't fall asleep during New Year's Eve. Atina came to give him the gift she had made, which made him very happy. Since it was New Year's Eve, Koshi wanted to buy some ingredients and asked Atina to go shopping with him. Suddenly, everyone came out and said they should also go too. They couldn't let Koshi and Atina go alone, so the whole group joined in to go shopping. The harem king was fully recovered and ready for the New Year's chaos.